Welcome back. This is a special edition of Modern Business, where our guest host, Zack Fishman, brings us millennials in franchising. Our community is about sharing knowledge and tools that help us achieve our goals in business and beyond. This is Millennial Monthly on Modern Business.
Hi, everyone. Coming to you live here. This is Zack Fishman, your guest host of Modern Business with Brian Hick for our monthly podcast, Millennial Monthly. I have our second guest here for our June edition. We have Danny Neves, and we also have Carlos Medina on the phone from Local Door Coupons. Gentlemen, say hello.
Good afternoon, Zach.
Hey, Zach. Thanks for having us.
Appreciate you guys coming on. Really looking forward to walking you guys through everything. And here's kind of the down low of what we're doing here, ladies and gentlemen. The idea behind Millennial Monthly is that we really want to be able to give the audience an idea of how our younger generation is actually going about navigating the franchise space, and really how we are doing things differently in comparison to really how folks are doing it of old. We've really seen a lot of amazing trends that have been happening within the millennial franchise space, and what better way to actually show you guys everything than to memorialize it and put it into a podcast like we've done today. So before I really get started into everything, gentlemen, I think I really wanted to just ask preliminarily, how did your business really get started, and how did you guys come up with the idea?
I guess I can answer that. So once again, thanks for having us, Zach. And my name is Danny Neves, founder and CEO of Local Door Coupons. I started the company back in 2000. I started drawing up the idea back in 2012, 2013. And it was during the recession, man, when just pretty much everything was bad. I needed to start a company, and I needed to find a service. And I wanted to get into the service industry because I wasn't a big fan of products and dealing with inventory. So I wanted to get into the service space, and I needed a service that business owners were going to want to pay for and use even during the bad economy. And that's kind of how we thought of Local Door Coupons, which is it's just a new disruptive way to help businesses reach out to the local community. And it was a low-cost business for me to start. It was a low-cost service for businesses. They ended up getting a really good return from our services that we provided for them. And it started off originally just helping small mom-and-pop shops advertise. And before we knew it, we had everybody from Denny's, the Miami Marlins, GNC, Subway. And now we've grown to literally just about every big-name company you could think of: Domino's, T-Mobile, Buffalo Wild Wings, Hooters, you name it. They probably advertise with us today.
Excellent, man. Happy to really hear that. Carlos, anything that you'd like to add about really how you guys kind of came up with the idea? I know that you've really been there with Danny since the beginning.
Right. So, Danny's pretty much the guy with the vision. And I think particularly what he's good at is really understanding what's needed in a market. And I think that's what Local Door Coupons, does in terms of bridging certain gaps, at least in the advertising space. We have a service, it's low cost, it's very disruptive, and it's ultimately something that all businesses need, particularly small businesses.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I love to hear that, guys. I mean, I think that your story is absolutely unbelievable. I think that you guys have really transformed the way that people are thinking about local door advertising, and I think that you guys have really turned the industry on its head, and you guys have really opened up a lot of eyes in the franchise space. So I want to commend you for that, first and foremost. So additionally, my second question for you guys is, I know that being a millennial is, and sometimes I think that a lot of people in the older generations believe that we are that we kind of get in our own way sometimes, but I also think that there's a huge advantage to being the age that we are. So, I mean, my second question to you is, how do you guys believe that your millennialism has differentiated you as a franchise brand versus some of the brands that have been around for 60, 70, 80 years?
Man, so that's a good question, man. And the fun fact of that is we never really tried going upon a millennial route to franchising. So even the business in general, we never thought we were going to franchise. It was never supposed to grow to the size it is today. Originally, it was an idea I created in Miami, and once I made money, whatever money I made from that, I was going to go and start something else. And before we knew it, I mean, we realized, that everybody's enjoying this. People were asking us about opening it in different cities, and that's how we got into franchising. And I remember once we did franchise the concept, a lot of the bigger, more well-known franchise consulting companies, I know Franchise Group and a couple of the other big dogs in it, they and just reading books from franchising, the Franchise MBA, Franchise Group's CEO has a really good book on franchising also. It's everybody kind of suggested the traditional route. If you're going to franchise a business, you got to go into have this really large budget to be able to do franchise trade shows and these PR agencies, which honestly added up to hundreds of thousands of dollars, which we didn't have in the day. So it was never just how do we disrupt it as far as how can we get our foot in it? How can we be part of this? And that's kind of how I was able to look at ways for me to be able to advertise on the budget I had. So that's back then. I kind of just thought of, I knew a buddy who was a social media influencer at the time. He goes by the name of Jason Stone, Millionaire Mentor. And I think he was one of the first people to really start doing the motivational quotes and that kind of stuff on Instagram. I wasn't a big techie, but from my understanding, there wasn't a lot of them back in the day. And I kind of teamed up with him because I thought it was a perfect audience. My franchise was a low-cost business. Really wanted to get other young entrepreneurs looking to start a business. That was the crowd, the audience I was looking for. And I realized that Jason Stone, Millionaire Mentor, he had over, I think at the time, was about 1 million followers. And his demographic was exactly what I was looking for. So I kind of reached out to him to partner up with him and see how social media, promoting our business, our franchise opportunity on social media would pretty much how that would work out. And surprisingly enough, we tested it out and we got an unbelievable amount of requests from it. So that's kind of how we got into this, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, by the way, the fact that you guys really drummed up business by Instagram is, in itself, is not something that our older generations are really thinking of right now. And I think it's something that the audience can really learn from, is the idea behind influencer PR, influencer marketing, and kind of using somebody who truly has the ability to actually recommend something just by simply putting it back on their social media. On their social media is a really great way to get your name out there. And I think that you guys successfully have done that. And it's very clear based off of how well you guys are doing that certainly did help. So really awesome story. And I love, and it's definitely something that the audience can learn from. So thank you, buddy. I really appreciate that. So next, I think is a really good question for Carlos because he is on the front lines when it comes to speaking to potential franchisees and things of that nature. My next question really is how have you guys tried to go after fellow millennials for franchisees? And I know that you guys are doing that because you mentioned, Danny, that you guys have been trying to get young entrepreneurs. What are kind of your tactics that you're going about doing so, in addition to influencer PR and influencer marketing on social media?
Well, that's a great question. And well, first of all, I'd like to say, I really appreciate the fact that millennials are giving this type of platform now, especially when it comes to innovation. It's nice to be praised for something rather than criticized, right? So thank you for that, Zach. When it comes to, to our strategy and targeting millennials and, engaging them and trying to bring them on board, going back to Danny's original point, we really try to be organic with it. We want to be as transparent as possible when it comes to delivering our value proposition and what we do, and more importantly, how we want them to grow. I wasn't a part of the founding team of this company, but one of the things that really attracted me and really motivated me to work with Local Door Coupons was a story that they were telling. And being a millennial myself, it really resonated with me. Here you have two men near my age, grew up in the same neighborhood. They grew a business organically. On the front lines, there's no BS. We want to be as transparent as possible. We want to make sure that any individual that we're getting on board understands that we're really trying to drive a value in our communities. So it's a two-way street. Obviously, from an entrepreneur standpoint, we want to attract those individuals that want to jumpstart that portion of their career. But we also want them to understand that beyond, generating revenue and profitability and scaling businesses, we also want to give back to the community. So that's really important for us to vet for and to encourage on any new franchisees that we bring on board. I think one of the key tools that we've had in trying to convey that commitment and that vision is, as Andy mentioned, through social media. So a lot of our content really is focused on neighborhood businesses, understanding what communities are launching specific social initiatives. And we've been really blessed because our franchisees really understand that vision, and they've gone out and they've chased those opportunities to invest back into the community. So one of our recent franchisees out in Temecula actually just partnered with a local league out there. So we're actually sponsoring a little, I think it's a baseball team out there. Our guys in Winter Garden are chasing opportunities with like local youth clubs, and trying to teach young kids, new entrepreneurship skills. So that for us is always at the forefront. It's part of our training. We really want to capture those individuals that want to do a little bit both. And again, that's a millennial mentality. They have to, there's got to be a reason beyond just revenue. There's got to be a reason, a purpose to make a difference in our community. And I think it's a strategy that serves us really well. We have a very young culture. It's innovative, so we're willing to listen. When we operate the franchise system, obviously we have our regular, but we also have the ability to work on collaborative projects, and that's the kind of audience that we're looking to cater to and try to attract.
Absolutely, and I couldn't say it better. I think that one of the things that will become a recurring theme here on Millennial Monthly is the idea behind transparency and the idea behind giving back and the idea behind having a culture that people believe in and buy into, and it's not just a place just to go in for work every day and you clock in and you clock out. It's a place where you really have some type of family, and you're really going there for a reason. I think that's something that you guys have instilled in your franchisees and your employees as well. So I applaud you for doing that. I think, and I hope that that's something that people can take away from this is that being transparent does get you a lot further than just having your employees know a little bit more than they may have known in the past. So I think that the way that you guys are going about doing things is definitely great. So my next question for you guys is really kind of centered around the consumer side of things. I know that you guys are a B2B type of business. However, I am kind of curious how you guys are going about drumming up business when it comes to the consumer side and landing, and your franchisees actually landing customers and things of that nature. When it comes to actually going not only for actual millennial customers, but using tactics that millennials are more familiar with. So I'm kind of if either of you guys can kind of speak to how the franchisees and how you guys are at the corporate office are helping them to train them to kind of use their millennialism to really get through these people on the consumer side. When it comes to
training our franchisees, we have a very specific strategy when it comes to onboarding. A lot of our franchisees go out by joining local chamber of commerce. We really want them to do a lot of networking, establish connections with like-minded individuals. And again, a lot of the focus that they have is on building community connections. Where can we help? And that could go as far as finding community outreach programs, youth programs. We go to local churches to find out what support that we can offer them in terms of events that they may be launching or some sort of seasonal promotions that they might want to launch. I would say that's pretty key. Outside of that, again, our focus really is to remain as grassroots as possible. We want to always keep it at kind of like community-friendly, neighborhood-friendly advertising specialist. So we're not just trying to go into these stores and, give them a pitch deck that's 15 minutes long. We really want to understand the business. We really want them to understand that, like themselves, we invested in our own business and we're trying to grow it. And the only way that we can grow it is by making sure that our local businesses are being frequented or being patronized by the people that live in the communities. So there's always a lot of outreach programs that we're trying to launch. A lot of activities focus on building community. Like I mentioned earlier, we're trying to target local leagues, sports leagues. We do a lot of fundraisers. We provide a lot of free collateral to our franchisees, or sometimes discounted collateral, whatever might be required. And again, I think that's worked really well because it resonates with those local business owners. We don't want to come off as an exploitative brand. We want to come off as something that's prescriptive to them.
Absolutely. And I think that that's really kind of a good way to go about doing things. I think that you guys have definitely had a lot of success, and there's a lot that people can learn from even from the youngins like us, how to actually run a business and kind of a fresh new look on how you guys are kind of going about doing that, not only on the franchise development side, but also on the consumer side as well. So my last question for you guys before we go here is really just surrounding about what you guys really believe and hope that and really wish that you guys knew when you guys were starting out the business. Because as a millennial franchisor, very often that we do want to kind of put our own stamp on things, and you want to have the ability to actually have a fresh new look at what a franchise company would really look like. So ultimately my question to one or both of you guys is really, what is something that you guys wish you guys knew when you guys were starting out the business as a millennial franchisor?
I think, just coming back, Danny and I attended the IFA convention earlier this year, and I think I would have to say it's pretty much in line to what we heard at all the emerging brand sessions that we went to, and that was understanding who we wanted our key franchisee to be. And taking a little bit more effort in drilling down into the qualities and values that they have. I think we've done a really great job. We've been really successful. We've talked to a lot of emerging brands at IFA. And I want to say, we're in alignment, we're to how everybody else started out. But I think, in retrospect, maybe would have spent a little bit more time focusing on those areas, developing more content, definitely a lot more validation tools that are more engaged or more predominantly used now, a lot of videos. So that's definitely part of our strategy today. Maybe we could have started early, but I think we're doing pretty good so far.
Absolutely, and I think I think your ability to actually use the culture that you get and the buy-in that people are expected to have if they become a franchisee is really important. I think it's definitely a way that a lot of millennial franchisors are differentiating themselves from folks who may have a little bit more established brands in the space. So, Danny, anything as a founder that you wanted to add in regards to something that you wish that you knew in the beginning that you now know would have been pretty helpful?
Man, I think I gotta agree with Carlos on it. I think one of the biggest challenges or things I wish I would have known before we got into was just bringing on the right franchisees. Because at the end of the day, man, when you bring on a franchise, it is a 10-year marriage, and you got to make sure you have the right candidate, or else it's gonna be frustrating. And we've had a couple candidates that, in the beginning we were kind of excited to sell franchises, and we kind of just sold it to anybody. But it ended up having its challenges, man, and its headaches with it. So just be really careful on who you bring onto your team.
Absolutely, and I got to say for the listeners here on the line, that will not change no matter how established or how young or how old you are as a franchisor. It is very, very difficult to figure out the right franchisee to actually bring onto your brand. So we all have something in common there. So. Thank you, gentlemen, very, very much for your time today. This has been absolutely excellent stuff. I'm really looking forward to kind of providing you guys a little bit more exposure, and I think that you guys really do deserve the recognition. So thank you guys again for joining me. And folks, thank you again for listening to the June edition of Millennial Monthly. We will be back next month or July for you, and stay tuned for that new guest. I will be releasing that on my LinkedIn page probably in the next couple of weeks. Thank you, everybody, so much. Looking forward to hearing some great feedback.
Thank you, Zach.